Well, first of all, give credit to it's a good Michigan football team, and uh, you know we they beat us today, and what do we do and how we go forward? That's on us, and I appreciate this group. I said at the beginning of the season, I like this group and appreciate them, and a lot of it is who they are, and I have confidence in that group, and obviously there's things that you come after every game and you talk about, and they're not corrected. That we've got to do something about it, right? And but I am proud of the way. Yes, as a coach, yes, guys put it out there. I thought we had a number of guys that put it out there, and great compete level. And there'll be some guys that look and played really good football, but hard to celebrate that in a loss. But certainly we've got to, there's things we've got to get better at to give ourselves a chance, and we're going to keep working on that, and we'll get it straight. But the way, how do you respond? You respond by going forward.
I'm assuming one of the things you think needs to be corrected or worked on is the overall play of the offensive line. And I know it's more than 5 guys, but at this point, what do you think your options are? Is it just continue to roll with the same guys, or do you say at some point these guys aren't getting it done and maybe we need to shake some things up?
Yeah, it's I understand the question, right, Jeff, and yet I think part of the inconsistency is what gets us in trouble, right? And as you go, certainly, you're playing. The guys who are playing, you're playing because they think they give you the best chance, and I still believe it with that group, right? If we're talking specifically, the O-line, but really you can apply that across the board, and together, we've got to be more consistent, right? That has to be the end game, and that's there's one component, and that's us, and then every week you play and you are challenged against another others, right? And so that's where each week okay, first game, and then you did something the second game is, well, it's a different team, and the third game and the fourth game, but it's I think it's in them, and we gotta bring it out in them.
Paul, are you angry right now? What's a good word to describe emotionally where you're at after this start?
Yeah, I think that it's I think, Jim, the first thing you do is you look inward, and so you're always every time that you don't. I think it goes. I should start by going back. Like, I appreciate this group and the way they put it out there, and therefore you want to do everything you can to help them have success. And when it doesn't happen, I look inwardly, and what is it that I have to do different, have to do better, and I think that's it's driven by a lot of things. It's driven by competitiveness. It's driven by care. It's driven by that's your profession. I've got no problem people that want to bitch about me, right? Because this is my job. This is where I'm at. I want to take it, not project it on the kids.
Paul, where do you think what kind of schemes or things weren't you able to get back to after you got some of that momentum late in the second quarter after Graham went down?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
You got some momentum there in the
Yeah.
second quarter. Were there things that you weren't able to get back to after Graham and Jake went down in that first drive of the third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, didn't have a good start to the second half, offensively, and then, then it does change a little bit, right? You kind of the way the game plays out, and and we don't do anything, and then a couple of turnover changes the type of game that you get to play, and so that's why it's always you got to play each play, right, and they're all different, and we didn't really get back into a rhythm, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
Well, I mean, there's a reason you guys recruited Graham, and I'm just wondering if those two series, back-to-back, the field goal drive and the touchdown drive, did you finally feel you were seeing a guy perform at the level he believes he can perform at and you expect him to perform at? Yeah,
I think there was that, and it looked to me like he was playing, and that's really what you want all of them to be. I don't know at times if it's freed up enough to play or certain enough or confident enough. Confidence gets thrown out there a lot, but I think it was just I thought, and you look at it, some of our very best players, they're playing kind of, maybe it's a bad thing to say, but it looks like they're playing the game. I watched Jack Sanborn, and he's playing the game. I know he's got responsibilities on every play, but he's playing the game. And I think that's you work towards that, and the good players can. And I thought there was glimpses of that happening today.
Paul, this is a program that has succeeded behind strong offensive line, good run game, not turning the ball over. At this point, do you think this team is struggling to find its offensive identity? What would you say the offensive identity is right now?
No, I think that's fair to say. You know what? If you're asking it, you don't know, and a good team, you know what it is, right? And right now, I think that's fair, right? Absolutely. What are we gonna hang our hat on? It's there's been times where it's been good in running the ball. There's been times where we've thrown it efficiently, but I think that we are absolutely there isn't a strong identity right now, and that's something that we've got to work towards getting. And that confidence, all right, or I should say, that'll come with consistency, not the confidence. But and you got to be consistent. If that's who you are, all right. Right now, I don't want us to be known as an inconsistent group, and that's what we have been. And maybe that is our identity right now. We've got to change that.
Paul, in terms of the pass protection calls, how much of that is on the center for you guys versus the quarterback, and how is that affected when you're switching guys in at both center and quarterback?
Yeah, no, you've got your base rules, and there'll be some things with it, but it's I don't think that part's a challenge, certainly.
Paul, does the sloppiness, the muffed punt, the kick out of bounds, the turnovers, does that frustrate you at this point in the season, and how do you address that?
Yeah, you don't want to have them happen, right? And heard this a long time ago, and it's true. You want to be able to outcoach the fans, and when you do those things, you're not doing that. And how big a plays those are. But I also, did Jack go up there and say, this is the one I'm going to kick out of bounds? Did a guy go do that? I don't believe that to be true. And so you just continue to coach and work with them. And that's, we want to play good football. And we're not doing that consistently. And that we've got to work on and continue to work on. And we've all got to own it. But, I'm not going to get, if shame on us if we're putting someone out there that's trying to do that. I don't think that's the case at all.
I know it's right after the game, but do you have any idea of the severity of the injuries to Graham and Jake?
Yeah, just talking real quickly afterwards, and we didn't have. He went to the hospital just because of the equipment. You kind of look at it and check on it and see. On Graham, yeah, and Ferg, he was out there, so saw him, but don't know much more right now.
Just on the other side, what's the difference you see in Michigan's defense this year versus the last couple of years when y'all kind of ran wild on them?
Well, I think they're a really good defense right now, and I think they're playing. I think they've got a good team, and that, let's face it, that helps. our defense, I think we've got a good defense, but not often are they able to play with a lead. And that changes the whole dynamic as well there. But they've got really good football players, and I certainly think what they do is good football schematics, but they've got good players. And, each year is different. We did not go in thinking that we're playing last year's team or the one before, and we're different. Our team's different too. So none of those ever kind of enter into your mind like, okay, this is, we're not playing the helmets, we're playing the individuals, and a lot of respect for who they are and as players and coaches their unit.
Coach, not the results that you may have wanted, but today was also a day to recognize Barry. What's he meant to you? What's he meant to the program?
Yeah, Coach Alvarez has meant a ton to me personally, and I feel fortunate to have been able to be where I could work with him, 3 different times. And so individually means a ton. And to say it's deserved almost sounds like a really understatement. What he's meant to this program, this university, this state, and you could, I think, make a good argument nationwide. I grew up and it's very different, because of not just Coach Alvarez, certainly under the charge of Coach Alvarez, but all those that came before, and you appreciate that, and that's where, in the seat that I'm in right now, and the players, that's we want to do that justice, and that's there's a part of that feels like when you don't, you're letting the whole group down.
Paul, I know your defense was under stress when the offense not moving the ball and some turnovers, but do you and Jimmy think there were some times they had a chance to get off the field, whether on 3rd down and 4th down, and didn't execute as they're accustomed to? I'm thinking of that, I think it was 13-10, that long pass to the field house for 38 to set up that touchdown.
Yeah, those are that's part of the game, and I still think we're playing at a really high level. And like I've said maybe in other things, but you're going up against other good players and other good teams, and to think that they're not going to get some plays, that's a big ask. And I think it would be a false, on that. And yet I just think that, kind of what I talked about earlier, like who we have in the argument, put into some tough situations. The ball's on the 5, and I think they get a field goal out of that. Another turnover. You're talking about 3 really, sudden change, short fields, and there's some schematics and there's some play to it, but I think there's a resiliency, and it's as much of a kind of reveals the character as much as the players when they do. And that's why there's a lot of guys that I thought played really well, but I get it, right? It's they don't feel better right now, and it's hard to celebrate them, but I recognize it, and you appreciate that a ton.
Paul, I know every week's probably different. Are you practicing well, would you say? Are you arriving on Saturday thinking, yep, this will be the day everything changes around because we've practiced well during the week, or are there things you're not seeing during the week that give you concern?
No, I have. I actually do believe that. When you come, and I think it's a fair, good question, right? But it's. I've liked the way that they've gone into it, and I like last week. I like the way they kind of responded and attacked. The week leading up to this game, and. So they genuinely did feel, they're doing what they can and like where they're at right now and let's go. And so I think that's been authentic.
Oh, I know you haven't had a chance to watch the film, but what do you think the issues were there when they would blitz the defensive backs? Like the one that injured Graham, and then a couple other times those guys were coming pretty much untouched.
Yeah, I think, and like you said, don't know, but I think on one, you're talking about a numbers game, and part of that is kind of knowing that, and I'm curious to see if we could have gotten into something that we were trying to get to if we had that those type of situations. We didn't in that, but that was a big part of their what they're going to do in kind of some of the overloaded pressures, and so I thought on the field that might be one. I thought we had a couple of those that we didn't get to. I'm anxious to see if my gut was right or not.